Calaroga Shark Media.
From Delaware, where Hunter Biden is guilty, this is Ballot.
That's right. The president's son is guilty. But the good news is, Trump isn't going to draft you. Let's hit this. Seth Meyers had some great jokes about Trump's weekend rally, saying, on Sunday, Trump held his first large rally since his guilty verdict, where he laid out a detailed policy plan to tackle the nation's challenges. And I'm just kidding. He screamed about teleprompters, batteries, and sharks. Former President Trump told the crowd he was sweating like a dog, and he was immediately shot by Kristi Noem. Seth also joked about how Trump can't hang around convicted felons now. You know who this is really bad news for? His family. Now he's going to have to spend more time with them. Melania is so worried about this, she's probably going to knock over a liquor store in broad daylight just so she can have a rap sheet. Jimmy Fallon commented on Trump meeting with his parole officer. Things got off to a rough start when Trump offered the parole officer $130,000. But the big story, of course, is Hunter Biden. Jimmy Kimmel joked, the trial of Hunter Biden ended badly for Hunter. He was found guilty on all 3 counts. His father did a terrible job of rigging this. Jordan Klepper, hosting The Daily Show, said, wow. Frankly, I'm shocked we're actually enforcing gun laws in America. Jimmy Fallon nailed it with Trump heard and was like, I've always said our legal system is fair and just. Well, folks, it seems like the Biden family just can't catch a break these days. Fresh off the heels of Hunter Biden's conviction on 3 felony gun charges, the president's son is vowing to keep moving forward, despite the legal troubles that seem to follow him like a bad hangover. After the verdict was announced, Hunter gathered with his family and friends in the defense room, where he choked up while singling out his parents and his wife, Melissa Cohen Biden. Without her, he said, I'd be dead. I guess love really does conquer all, even when you're facing a decade in prison. President Biden, being the doting father that he is, changed his plans and flew to Wilmington to be with his son. The two shared a heartfelt embrace on the tarmac, a touching moment that was only slightly overshadowed by the fact that Hunter could be trading in his designer suits for an orange jumpsuit. But don't think for a second that the Republicans are going to let this one slide. They're already sharpening their knives, ready to pounce on the Biden crime family as soon as the focus shifts to Hunter's upcoming tax evasion trial in September. Caroline Leavitt, former President Trump's campaign spokesperson, wasted no time in declaring, this trial has been nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family. Because apparently, when you're a Trump supporter, irony is just a word in the dictionary. The timing of the upcoming trial couldn't be worse for the Bidens. With jury selection set to begin just weeks after the Democratic National Convention, and a potential verdict coming as early as the start of early voting, it's like the universe is conspiring to make sure that Joe Biden's campaign is as stressful as possible. But fear not, because the Biden camp is ready to handle this with the utmost care and sensitivity. A former aide revealed that conversations about public comments concerning the family are typically handled through discreet channels, which is just a fancy way of saying, we're going to pretend this isn't happening and hope everyone forgets about it. Meanwhile, President Biden is walking a tightrope, trying to support his son while also respecting the judicial process. He issued written statements at the start and end of Hunter's trial, stressing that he would respect the judicial process, a far cry from his approach to Trump's conviction, which he's been using as a fundraising tool and a way to argue that Trump is unfit for office. Democrats are hoping that the public will see the difference between felony charges against a candidate and those against a candidate's relative. As Democratic strategist Josh Schwerin put it, Republicans have been trying to attack Hunter Biden and tie him to his father for, 5 years now, and it's never been effective. Well, maybe the 6th time's the charm? Well, folks, it looks like former President Donald Trump is back in the headlines. And this time, it's not for his infamous tweets or his love of fast food. No. The Washington Post has stirred up a hornet's nest by suggesting that Trump might push for mandatory military service if he wins re-election in 2024. But fear not, my fellow Americans, because Trump is here to set the record straight. In a post on his beloved Truth Social platform, the former president slammed the idea as ridiculous and claimed he never even thought of it. I mean, can you imagine Trump in a military uniform? The only thing he'd be drafting is his next tweet. Trump, in his usual style, didn't miss the opportunity to take a swipe at the media, accusing the Washington Post of continuing their 8-year failed attempt to damage me with the voters. I guess when you're Trump, everything is a conspiracy against you, even a simple news article. Now, the Post story isn't entirely baseless. They did speak to some of Trump's former officials and GOP lawmakers who have mused about a national service mandate. Like Christopher Miller, the guy who took over the Department of Defense in the chaotic final days of Trump's presidency. Miller suggested that a military mandate should be strongly considered. I'm sure he's just thrilled to have his name associated with this story. And let's not forget about Sen J.D. Vance, the hillbilly elegy author turned politician, who's apparently in the running to be Trump's running mate. Vance said that a military requirement could be a good idea to ensure more Americans have some skin in the game. I'm not sure what game he's referring to, but I'm pretty sure it's not Monopoly. But here's the kicker. Trump's campaign declined to comment on whether he supports mandatory military service when contacted by the Post. I guess they were too busy drafting their next Truth Social post to bother with a pesky journalist's question. So there you have it, folks. Trump says the idea of mandatory military service is ridiculous, and he's never even thought about it. But with his track record of flip-flopping and saying one thing while doing another, you might want to consider what you'll look like with a military buzz cut. Well, folks. It seems like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the MAGA queen herself, is back at it again, causing headaches for House GOP leaders and making them question just how much attention they should give to this Trump loyalist. You see, Greene used to be a team player under former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. She'd swallow tough votes and fall in line, even if it meant going against her right-wing buddies. But oh, how the tables have turned. Now, under Speaker Mike Johnson, Greene is acting out like a rebellious teenager. She's having outbursts at committee hearings, trying to oust Johnson from his fancy speaker chair, and pressuring Republican leaders to take uncomfortable votes. It's like she's on a mission to become the least popular kid in the House GOP conference. But here's the thing. Greene doesn't seem to care. She's got the backing of MAGA supporters across the country, including the big man himself, Donald Trump. He even endorsed her for re-election and let her warm up the crowd at his Las Vegas rally. Talk about a vote of confidence. So, while Greene's colleagues might be over her antics, they're still afraid of her. As one GOP lawmaker put it, she has an incredible audience and fundraising mechanism and could turn that against you. It's like she's got a MAGA army at her beck and call. But it's not all doom and gloom for Greene. She's still got some close allies in the House, and some of her colleagues think she brings benefits to their conference. As GOP Rep. Ralph Norman of South Carolina said, "She's with us more than she's against us." I mean, that's something, right? Now, GOP leaders are trying to figure out how to manage this loose cannon. Former Speaker McCarthy kept her in bubble wrap, but Speaker Johnson doesn't have the time or patience for that. He's got a narrow majority to navigate and a campaign to run. Greene's latest ploy? Pressuring Johnson to impeach President Biden, defund the special counsel's investigations into Trump, and even let the government funding lapse. You know, just a casual response to Trump's conviction in New York. No big deal. But not everyone in the GOP is on board with Greene's extreme measures. As Rep. Nick LaLota of New York said, "I don't think that you cure one hasty, ill-advised action with another." Amen to that, brother. So there you have it, folks. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the MAGA maverick, is causing chaos in the House GOP once again. Will Speaker Johnson be able to rein her in, or will Greene continue to march to the beat of her own drum? Does Marjorie Taylor Greene use AI to create portions of her podcast like I do? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, it's never a dull moment when MTG is around.